Hi, this is Brad with Baker County Trash Pickup. Today we have a trash picking video, which I know a lot of you like seeing. We're going to cover 3 weeks in numbers, and we are going to answer quite a few of your comments, specifically comments from the last video I made about cleaning the trash truck. If you don't know, my wife and I started a residential trash pickup company in June of this year when Waste Management left our rural Northeast Florida county. We started that business off by purchasing 200 branded trash cans. We bought a dump trailer to pull behind our Chevy 2500 and manually collect the trash. We put big 96-gallon liners in the bins so that I wouldn't have to lift the cans or reach in and dig around for loose trash during pickups. And after a few months of that and business growth, we finally decided to go ahead and get a trash truck. So in last week's video, I documented the process where I clean that trash truck after every run. The main reason for that is because I parked that trash truck right outside our house. I do live in a neighborhood development. Fortunately, there's no HOA, so I don't have any rules against it. A lot of those questions that you might have if you're hearing this for the first time are answered in that video, so I'd recommend you go watch it. But there were some comments that I thought might be worth addressing because they do raise some other questions. The first one, this is somebody who feels very strongly about the fact that I park my garbage truck at home, but they don't really give any specifics about why it's an issue. They just say that the fact that the neighbors have to see and deal with it, or for prospective home sellers near the house, the lack of self-awareness and rudeness is on a whole nother level. Even if you're not violating any laws or codes, it's still an absurd burden on your neighbors. I completely understand this person has a right to the opinion. The only issue with this comment is there's no specifics. Like, I can't agree or disagree with it because you're not telling me what is a burden. The only specific thing that is mentioned is having to look at it. And unfortunately, I'm not going to rule out an entire business or livelihood that could support myself and my family because my neighbors will have to occasionally see a clean garbage truck as they drive away from their house, as they are outside enjoying their property. That doesn't really bother me. It's not a burning trash pit. It's not a mountain of garbage. It's a trash truck that doesn't make any noise. It doesn't leak. It doesn't stink. It's cleaner than most of the vehicles in the neighborhood, certainly cleaner than the other vehicles in my driveway. And aside from the 10 minutes that it idles up at 3:50 in the morning before we leave, and the hour or two it takes me of cleaning in the driveway, nobody really sees me interact with it or has to hear it or even think about it. So if at the end of the day, the only thing that you can say is people have to look at it, well, I can't argue that. That's an absolute fact. Somebody is going to have to look at it. Whether or not that constitutes having to deal with it, me having a lack of self-awareness and rudeness, it being an absolute burden on the neighbors, I can't get on board with this comment unless you want to give me some specifics. In the original comment, I replied as soon as I saw it and asked for some specifics because if you just say generalities like, oh, it's an incredible burden and you're very selfish, well, give me some specifics so we can have a discussion on it. At least at this point, 6 days later, they haven't. So I really don't know what, aside from having to look at a garbage truck, they were talking about. I think the important thing to remember is I'm not running a garbage business at my house. I am simply parking a garbage truck at my residence. And yes, once a week I am cleaning a garbage truck at my residence. But again, the whole cleaning process you can see and critique for yourselves. That's a cleaning process that's going to evolve and get better over time. This is a common question as well. In some of the videos, you will see my orange cans in the driveway and then also 2 blue cans from a different company. So a lot of people say, is that some company taking away your trash at your house? Why don't you just take away your own trash? This is a question that could be answered if you look back into the playlist at one of the very first videos that I made about why we're even doing this garbage business. I live in a rural area of Northeast Florida in Baker County. There is one city in that entire county, and if you are inside the city limits, then you have city sewer, you have city water, and you have city trash pickup, which is not done by city employees, but rather a company out of Jacksonville, a private company out of Jacksonville, which is about an hour east, and it's contracted through the city. That is not a service I can opt out of. If I said, I don't want any trash cans, don't pick up any trash at my place, it doesn't matter. The city would still be charging me a base rate of $31 and some change for monthly trash pickup. I don't remember what the exact number is. If I did that, it would mean that I'm paying for city pickup that I'm not using. And the other thing is that it would prevent me from using that space in the garbage truck for paid customers. It's just something that doesn't make any sense. There are no benefits and there are only negatives to me taking my own trash or handling my own trash. Good question on maintenance for the garbage truck. On the Sunday before our Monday trash pickups, right now we're only picking up 1 day a week, but on the Sundays before, I will grease all the fittings on the machine. That takes probably 5 to 10 minutes. Maintenance that will be done by myself but hasn't been done yet just because of it hasn't needed it. You've got oil and oil filters on the engine that you need to change. There are 2 fuel filters on the Isuzu. There is a, fuel water separator with a filter that you want to change. And then there's also a fuel filter on the engine block somewhere. There is hydraulic oil and a hydraulic filter on the garbage body itself. That has to be changed at intervals. The things that I've mentioned so far, those are all hour intervals. I want to give a shout out real quick to this Facebook garbage mechanic group that I'm in. There has been a ton of people who have been extremely helpful in giving me some guidance on the maintenance for this truck because I don't know what I don't know. One kind of mental shift you have to make when you are maintaining a garbage truck versus, what you may be used to in your personal automobile is that miles is not really a reliable indicator of service intervals anymore. It's operating and it's wear and tearing while it's at somebody's house parked. So if you just go by miles, you are not capturing all the work that the engine is idling, that the hydraulics are working, during the minute and a half. We have stops as quick as 17 seconds if all I have to do is use the tipper arm to put the trash in. If there's 2 cans and I've got to cycle the hydraulics through 2 cycles, that can be a minute and a half stop. But all of that time is not captured if you're only looking at the miles that vehicle is driven. I absolutely will make videos showing the oil filter, fuel filter changes, all that kind of stuff. Tire rotate and balance. I don't know about the balance part, but the rotating on the Isuzu is 5,000 miles. That is something that I'm hoping to do myself because it would just be an insane waste of time and money to take it to somebody. I have the knowledge and the ability to rotate my own tires. Currently, I do not have the means to, which I guess you could argue means I don't have the ability to. What I'm saying is there are tools that I need in order to lift and get the wheels off of this truck that I don't have right now, and I'm in the process of trying to get them before the 5,000 mile mark. And one last thing I've forgotten on the Isuzu, there are kingpins to grease. Those are a component of the steering system. There are also U-joints on the Isuzu to grease. Those are a component of mainly the drive shaft, how the engine transmits power to the rear wheels. In addition to the greasing that I talked about on all the Zerks, I have found that my garbage tipper, the thing that lifts the trash can up and down, that squeaks from places there aren't grease fittings. So I've also taken to just getting some kind of lubricant, metal lubricant spray from Walmart. It's nothing fancy. And I sprayed pretty much everything that moves on that garbage tipper that doesn't have a grease fitting, and it quieted it up. But that'll be part of weekly maintenance moving forward. The other thing that I have not tried yet, it just came in the mail the other day from Amazon. It's a grease spray that comes out of a can, but then it firms up and gets a little tackier so that it's harder to wash away. But I'm going to spray that on the body inside of the leaf springs because there's a lot of squeaking on this truck as it, goes down the road. So I'm going to experiment with ways to quiet that up too. Here's a very good question from the cleaning video. Since we keep the truck so close to the home, do we have problems with insects getting from the trash into our house. And then the leachate odors. Leachate is the fancy name for garbage juice. First off, about the smell. I will not say that it doesn't stink, but what I will say is, one, my nose is not the most sensitive that you will find. A real great sadness that I should have such a large nose plastered on this bald head of mine, and that it doesn't work better than other size noses. That's disappointing to me. Like, compared to my wife, she smells things all the time that I can't pick up. We are both getting used to the smells more, though. Like, I remember when we first started going to the landfill, and I would have to roll down the window to, talk to somebody or get a better view of a window. Maybe it was an overcast day and the tinted windows on the truck, I couldn't really see confidently. She would cover up her face with like whatever clothes she was wearing. She would tuck her head down and, pull her shirt over her nose. She couldn't stand the smell of that landfill. And you fast forward a few months, she drives this trash truck for me. So when I'm at the landfill, she'll drive it forward and back as I'm unloading stuff. So I need to give her some commands or directions. She'll just sit there with the window down the whole time. She's looking at the birds. The breeze is all going in the cab and she's smelling everything, but you just get used to it, even on a sensitive nose like hers. That's a very long way to say you've got to take anything I say about smells with a grain of salt. What I consider not a bad smell or something I'm used to would probably be very offensive to a neighbor. Filtering it all through that sediment bag that I have helps a lot. It actually cuts down on a ton of the smell. When I go to the landfill, I also brush out the body of the truck with a push broom. So it doesn't smell good when we get back home, but there is just much less debris that stinks that is in there. And then by the time they get caught by the filter bag that I put on everything as I'm washing it out, it's really not that bad. And then the insects, that's a good question. First of all, it has finally started getting cold where I am. In the winter months, there are just less bugs, period. Even in the heat of the summer when there's, millions of bugs, it's not really that big an issue, because what happens is when we dump that trash, most of the time those bugs are going to try and scurry somewhere that is, like inside of stuff. They don't go to places on the garbage truck. They just go deeper into the trash. Whether that's between trash bags or into the trash bags, I don't know. But when I get done dumping that load at the landfill and I look inside, it's not like there's roaches crawling around the walls or anything like that. There aren't any bugs left. At the house, before I've cleaned it, there will be big fat black flies buzzing around, a half dozen or so. I don't know if they were at the landfill and hitched a ride. I don't know if they were around my house and are just attracted to the garbage truck. I don't know where those flies come from, but they're only around until I clean the truck. And once 200-degree water starts getting sprayed from that Alcoa hot water pressure washer I have, they don't stick around. Another comment on cleaning, I don't think this was well thought out. Well, I think that's what they meant. They said, well, that out. You'd be better off with some kind of sanitizing solution. You need to get bacteria hot and for long enough in order to kill it. I think this is a person who probably did not watch the whole video and just skipped around. The reason I have the hot water pressure washer from Alcoa, it's not to sanitize everything. The reason I got that hot water pressure washer is to cut through the fats, oils, and greases that make cleaning this truck, the inside specifically, much more difficult and time-consuming with a cold water pressure washer. The sanitizing benefits of a hot water pressure washer are an added benefit, but they're not the main reason you get a hot water pressure washer. The other thing about bacteria, you'll have to cite whatever research you're suggesting if you think that 200-degree water is not enough to kill bacteria. But from all the research I've done, that's 40 to 50 degrees hotter than it needs to be to start killing bacteria. And a sanitizing solution definitely would help, but again, that's something else to consider spilling out into the ground that you really should control, that you wouldn't want running to streams down the drain. Perhaps when I have a portable water reclamation system and I can direct all that to the sewer treatment, then maybe I would consider it. But at least for now, it's not something I want to do on a big scale. And here's one of my favorite comments of the week. Stop wasting time cleaning the inside. Drove for 10 years. Well, it's a lot of experience, and I appreciate the advice. I would be willing to bet my garbage truck that not once did you ever have to take the garbage truck you drove and park it at your wife's front door, which is what I do every day. So our priorities are going to be a little bit different. Again, I think this is somebody just skipping around, not watching a full video. What you see me do, the way you see me run this business, I guarantee you is going to be different from 99% of the trash companies that you're going to see around you, and 100% different from any other trash company who's making YouTube videos, because there aren't many of them, and I don't know anybody who parks in a neighborhood like I do. So yes, I'm doing things different than normal. I think when you weigh that against the balance of my situation, what I'm doing is completely appropriate. And I will continue to waste time cleaning the inside of the truck. I don't do it for fun. Believe me, if I didn't have to, I wouldn't. So if you think I enjoy cleaning out a trash truck, I don't. It's just what we have to do given our situation. And then this is a good question to segue getting into the numbers for the week. Be careful on the payments. They catch up fast. I would start buying stuff used. Man, you spend a ton of money on new stuff. I have no clue how you're making money with all the new stuff. If you can do a video on what stuff costs, then that would be awesome. Keep up the great videos. They've been in business for 25 years. Quite a few different points here. As far as buying used stuff, I have made many videos on why I've tried to buy used things but can't, whether it's a work truck or a garbage truck or mowers. One of the big psychological hurdles I can't get over is I have no clue how this person maintained their equipment, and because of that, I have no reliable expectation for how long it will work for me. As far as not having a clue on how I make money, we aren't making money. Any money that the business has finally gotten to a point where it can cover its own expenses, right? And at this point moving forward, now we're going to have a little bit of money left over, but it's just going to sit in the account. And that doesn't even account for all the thousands of dollars that I've already spent, tens of thousands on trash cans, on advertising, on mailers. All I factor in is our monthly expenses for truck payment, insurance payment, trailer payment, and then the fuel that we use every week for that week's pickup. So yeah, I'm not making any money, but that's something I'm very transparent with. I'm not trying to hide the fact. And it'll still be years before we get to a point where we're making any real money because of the fact that we have so much to pay off. I look at it as kind of a long-term investment that we're putting in the hard work now, and at some point in the future, somebody's going to look at it and say, oh man, you're making this much money a week on trash pickup and you don't have any expenses. You've got it made. But they're going to have missed the 5 years where we didn't pay ourselves anything. We were working, 10, 11-hour days, waking up at 3 in the morning to go pick up trash for $0. That's the point we're trying to get to. But yeah, right now we're not making any money, so you don't have to wonder. If you can do a video on what stuff costs, that would be awesome. I think pretty much any time I make a video on the trash side of things, I disclose the pricing. The biggest expenses that we've had so far, obviously the garbage truck, that was $134,000. We have had the 200 trash cans were $14,000, I believe. That includes about $1,000 of freight to get them down here. And then behind that, the truck insurance, that was $10,000 for a year of insurance on the garbage truck. The trailer, that's $15,000, but we only have, that's 18 months no interest payments. So at this point, I think we've only spent about $3,000 to $4,000 on it. But yeah, stay tuned to these videos because I always talk about the money side of things, which is as good a time as any to switch to talking the numbers. I think we're going to cover 3 weeks this video. For the week starting October 28th, we added 3 cans and 3 clients, so we have 107 cans on the street and 92 clients. Our expenses, what you'll see is the fuel that we needed for this week's pickup, which was $31.60, and then these next lines, truck insurance, truck payment, trailer payment, that's just the monthly amount that we pay for those things, and we divide it by 4. On those cans, we brought in around $914. Our cost for the week around $650. Our profit around $250. We worked from 4:41 until 11:30. That's us pulling out of the driveway to start the trash route, and that's us pulling back in the driveway after our trip to the landfill. Between the two of us, that's about 13 and a half man hours, which means we made about $19.08 per hour. We dumped 3,980 pounds of trash, which would have cost us $59.70, but because we live in Baker County, which is a member county of the landfill that we go to, the county government picks up the tab on those fees because this is waste from the residents, and it's their responsibility to pay for it under that member agreement for the landfill. The week of November 4th, we added 4 clients and 6 cans, so we had 2 people who wanted 2 cans. Very close to the 100 client milestone, but not there yet. Expenses, they aren't going to change much. Our fuel was $34.30 this week. We made a little bit more money. The costs were a little bit different. Our profit was just over $300. We worked from 4:24 a.m. until 10:52 a.m., which is about 13 man hours. Our hourly rate ended up being a little bit better this week at $23.15 per hour. We dumped 4,500 pounds of trash, which would have cost us $67.50. On the week of November 11th, we only gained 1 can and 1 customer. In the next video, you're going to start to see some of the benefits of those every door direct mail flyers that we had been sending that Mike Andes and his digital marketing team helped us to come up with. Actually, they did all the work. I don't know why I said helped. And every time we send out those mailers, it's a little bit different response rate, but it always does good for us. Again, the costs relatively unchanged except a couple dollars difference in fuel. Our income again went up $969, leaves us with a profit of $314. We worked from 4:02 a.m. to 10:26 a.m., which is approximately 13 man hours, which gave us $24.19 an hour. Again, we aren't really paying ourselves. Those numbers are just kind of a fun way to see what's left over when we pay all the bills. We dumped 3,880 pounds, which would have cost us $58.20. One interesting trend I've noticed in tracking the weight of what we've dumped is there almost always seems to be a higher week followed by a lower week, followed by a new higher week, followed by a lower week. And I think that's some kind of mechanic of people forgetting to put out cans, where if you have, let's say 10% of your folks forget to put out the can, that will result in an artificially low week. But then the next week, they'll have twice as much trash, which results in an artificially high week. So what I'm finding is there really isn't, at least as the company is growing, there isn't an average number of pounds I'm dumping. It just keeps going up. But there are some variances because people will forget to put out trash. So that's how I can have a week where I dump 4,500 and then it'll go down below 4,000. Well, the difference is people didn't put out their trash. But that'll do it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, please be sure and leave it down below, and I'll get to it as soon as possible. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and we will see you in the next one.